Hello everyone, welcome to Learn Data Structures and Algorithm in Python course. In today's lecture, we'll be discussing about set data structure. So let's start. First, what is set? Set are basically used to store multiple items in a single variable. Previously, we have seen that array is also used to do the same thing, and set is also doing the same, but there are some difference. What are those? First, set only stores unique elements. Set doesn't support any duplicate items. Now let's try to understand what I mean to say. Let's say I create an array. Let's say arr equals to, let's say 1, 2, 3, then 1, then 1, then 2, right? So let's say this is an array. Now this is possible, right? Here you can see 1 is repetitive here, 1 is 3 times, 2 is twice here. Now, if I try to create a set like this, let's say set1 equals to, first we have to use this curly braces. And now if I put 1, 2, let's say 1, then again 2, then 1, then 1, then 3. Now, when you try to print this out, when you try to print this thing, print this set1, what you will get, the result will be like, the result will be like 1, 2, and 3. Only this. Set only stores the unique elements, right? But when you print this array, it will give you the whole array as it is. But set only returns you the unique elements. So this is the difference, right? So this is the difference. And there are another difference is set is an unordered collection of elements. So in array, each items is uniquely identified with a entity called index. So in array items, each item has a index starting from 0, then 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, like this, right? But set doesn't have any index. That's why it is called unordered collection of elements. So there are two difference. There is no order in the set items, and the set only store unique elements, right? Now here is an example. Here you can see there is a set of days in a week, and these are basically unique elements starting from Monday to Sunday, right? Okay, now let's go to our VS Code. Let's create a set. Let's name it as set1. Then, okay, how we can create a set? First, we have to use an curly braces. Then we can put the items. Let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now let's say I want to put 1 again, 2 again. Okay. Now if I try to print this out, print set1, and let's try to run this. Now we can see there is only unique elements 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? 4 and 5, right? There is no 1 and 2 here. Now if I try to print the type of it, print the type of this set1. Now try to run this. I can see this is a type of set, right? Now the set is unordered collection of elements, right? Now if I try to print, let's try to print set1 of, let's say 0, or let's say, okay, let's say 0. Now let's clear this out, sorry. And now if I try to run this, you'll get an error. Why? Because set doesn't have any index, right? It's an unordered collection of elements. Now let's see how we can access item. Now tell me, can we access item in a set? No, right? Because set doesn't have any index or a key so that we can access any items. Let's say I want to access this item in a set. It is not possible because there is no index. How I can access this? Rather, we can do, we can loop through this set, loop through this whole set. Then only we can get the all elements, all items one by one. We can't access a single item, rather we can loop through it. When we loop through it, then only we can access the item one by one, get the item one by one. For that we have to use this for in loop. Now let's try to run this. Let's say I want to access all the items. uh, okay, now remove this one because it will be confuse you. Let's for let's say item in set 1, and then let's just print this out, print item. Okay, now let's try to run this. Now you can see you can access all the items by looping it from 1 to 5, right? Now one thing, you can access the items. Let's remove this. Now you can access the items like set 1 of 0 or set 1 of 1, right? You can't access this, but you can check an item is present in this set or not. What I mean, let's say I want to check this Friday is present in this day's set or not. Is it present? Yes, it is present here, right? Now if I try to just check is Friday is present here or not, then we have to use this in keyword. Then this whole thing will return us a boolean value, true or false, right? Now let's try it. Let's try to print. I want to check if, let's say, 10 is in this set or not, right? Set 1 or not. Now tell me what will be the output. Is 10 present in this set? No, right? So it will return us a boolean value false. Let's try to run this. Now you can see this is giving us false. Now let's say in spite of 10 I check for 4. Now if I try to run this, now this is giving me true, right? That's how we can check for an item. Now let's talk about some set method. The first method is len method. Len is not a set method. It is an inbuilt method in Python. It is used to basically calculate the number of items is present in any iterable. It could be array, it could be straight, right? So for set, how many items are there, to measure that we have to use this length, right? Now let's try to run this. Let's say I have this set. Let's remove this. Let's say this is set. Okay. Now let's print the len of this is. Okay. Now if I try to run this, now you can see there are 5 items here from 1 to 5, right? And this only the unique items here, right? Now if I put, let's say 2, let's say 2, then 2, then 2, then 2, or let's say 3. Now tell me what will be the value of it, what will be the output. It will be 5, right? Because it will only consider the unique elements, so it will not affect it. Now the next method is add method. How we can add items to a set. Let's say let's create a empty set. Let's name it s equals to, okay. Now how we can create an empty set. Now if I try to run this, let's say I want to create a set like this. Now if I try to print this, print the type of it, type of s, and let's clear this out and try to run this. Now you'll see the magic. It is basically created a dictionary. So to create an empty set, this syntax is wrong. We can't create a set using this syntax. To do that, to create an empty set, what we have to use? We have to use this function called set, right? Only then it can create an empty set. Now if I try to run this again, you can see this is a type of set, right? Now let's say, okay, let's remove this whole thing. Remove this whole thing. Now the first method is add method. What add method does? Add basically adds an element to the set. Now let's say the set is empty, currently it is empty. Now if I want to add an item, is dot, let's say add let's say I want to add 10 here, right? Now if I try to print this, print s, and try to run this, you can see there is only one items here and it is 10. Now if I want to add, let's say, a different thing, let's say add, let's say 50 here. Now same thing, there will be two items here, right? 10 and 50. Okay, that's how add works. Now the next method is update method. Update basically used to add items from another set. Let's say there are two sets. Okay, let's say two sets. First is s1 and it will contain some item, let's say 10, 20, then 30, then 40. Okay, now there is another set, let's say s2, and it will contain, let's say 50, then 60, then 70. Okay, now I want to update this s1 to what? I want to add this whole thing, let's 50, 60, 70 to it. I want to add this whole items in this set itself. Now to do that, we have this update function. Update basically used to add items from one set to another set. Now if I try to run this, let's say s1 dot update and update with s2. Whatever items present in s2, I want to put them all in s1. Now let's try to print this s1 and also try to print this s2. Now let's clear this out and let's try to run this. Now you can see initially s1 was 10, 20, 30, 40. Now it has become this 10, 20. Now you can see the order is not fixed, right? It is an order collection of element. So there is 10 present, 20, 30, then 40, 50, 70, right? That's how we can update one set into another set. But you can see s2 is same. s2 is unchanged because we have not performed any operation on s2. So this is all about update. Now there is next method called discard method. Discard is used to remove item from one set. Let's say I want to remove 30 from it. Okay, let's say let's remove this thing. Okay, let's say this is a set. Now I want to remove an item. Let's say 30. I want to remove. To do that, we have the discard function. Let's say s1 dot discard, then put, let's say 30. Now if I try to print this, so print this s1 and try to run this, now you can see 30 has removed from here. There are only 10, 20 and 40. Okay, that's how discard works. Now there is another function remove that also do the same thing. Now in spite of discard, let's say, and to change it to remove. Okay, now if I try to run this, it will do the same thing. Now you will ask, what are the difference between discard or remove and what to use? Now let's say I want to remove an item that is not present in this set. Let's say I want to remove, let's say John. Now John, this string is not present here, right? Now if I try to run this, let's clear this out first. So I want to remove an item that is not present in this set. Now what will give you? It will definitely give you an error. Now you can see this is giving you an error because John is not present here, right? John is not present here. Then how you can remove this? But in spite of remove, if you just let's comment it out. If you just change this to discard, and now if we try to run this, now you can see there is no error. There is no error. Now let's clear this out and run it again. Okay. Now if I try to run it again, I can see there is no error. This is the difference between remove and discard. To use remove, we have to additionally check that this item is present or not. But for discard, you don't have to check anything. If the item is present here, it will remove this item, otherwise it will not. If it find that this item is not present here, then it will not remove this. Now if you don't try don't want to use this discard, you want to only use this remove, then how you can do? For that we have to do an additional check. First you have to check this item is present here or not. If this in S1, then only we can do this thing, S1 dot remove. Okay, then only we can do this. Means every time we have to check for this item. Now if I try to run this, you can see now there is no error. But for discard we don't have to check anything. So this is the difference. Now there is another method, it's called union. So what union does, union basically returns a new set with all items from both set, right? Like new union. So let's take two set, S1 and S2. Now let's say S2 equals to, let's say 30, then 20, then 60, then 90. Okay, there are two set. Now when you try to find the union of it, what we have to do, let's take array set. Okay, now if I try to run this, S1 dot union S2. Okay, now it will return the union between those two set. Now if I try to print this, print array set, let's clear this out, and if I try to run this, now I can see the items that are present in the first set and the second set are printed here, right? Now in spite of this union, this keyword, what we can use, let's say, let's comment it out, or let's take another variable, let's take S3. Okay, now in spite of this, if we use this sign, this union sign, okay, now if we try to print this also, print S3 also, now if I try to run this, so those two are basically doing the same thing. Those two are basically calculating the union between this two set, right? That's how we can calculate union. So the next set method is called intersection, right? So there is also two syntax here. We can use this intersection keyword, or you can use this and. So what intersection does, it actually returns the common items between this both set. So here in this two set, here you can see this 20 is present here in set 1 and set 2, right? And 30 is also present in set 1 and set 2. Now when we try to find the intersection between these two set, it will return a set having this two element 20 and 30. Now how to do that? Let's try to remove this. Let's say I want to get raise set 1 equals to S1, same thing, S1 dot intersection of S2. Okay, and let's take another thing, say 2 equals to just shorthand notation S1 intersection S2. And now if we try to print this both, print raise set 1 and print the same thing with raise set 2. Now let's clear this out and let's try to run this. Now you can see the intersection between two set are 20 and 30. 20 is present here and here also, and 30 is present here and here also. That's why the result is a set of two elements 20 and 30. Those are some set methods that will be useful for solving DSA problems, right? So you can there are more methods also you can explore by your own, but uh, this method will be enough for solving problems, right? So that's it for today. In the next lecture we'll be solving some problems on set. Sure. Thank you.